Hi guys, thank you for joining me today. My name is Amanda from Easy English Online. I have an exciting new video for you today on confusing English words. I'm often asked about confusing words such as accept and accept. Do we accept something or do we accept something? Do I borrow or lend a book to my friend? We will look at these confusing words and more that a lot of my students have difficulty getting their heads around. We'll also look at the pronunciation of these words too. The differences can be very subtle. But don't worry, you'll be experts by the end of this lesson. For those of you that don't know me, I've been teaching English to foreign students now for a number of years. If you would like to learn more and have one-to-one lessons with me, then I've provided a link in the description box below that will give you a special deal on English lessons. So please check that out. I also just want to quickly tell you about an exciting new video series which I'll be releasing shortly. It's an 8-week mini course on the 8 parts of speech. It's completely free and you don't want to miss it, as it will be a great foundation for your English learning. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button below so you get notified when it's released. So today we're going to talk about confusing words. These are words which can sound very similar but have completely different meanings. They're widely used, so it is important that you understand their meaning. To accompany the video, I've prepared a downloadable PDF for you. So there's no need to take any notes. I will explain how to download them at the end of the video. So for now, just sit back and enjoy the lesson. Our first confusing words are borrow versus lend. Borrow and lend. Both of these words are, of course, verbs. So what does to borrow mean? To borrow means to take something from another person knowing you'll give it back to them. For example, can I borrow your car, please? Can I borrow your car, please? Katie used to borrow money from me all the time. Katie used to borrow money from me all the time. Now, what about to lend? What does this mean? To lend means to give something to another person expecting to get it back from them. For example, I never lend my CDs to anyone. I never lend my CDs to anyone. Katie asked me to lend her £30 last week, but she hasn't given it back to me yet. Katie asked me to lend her £30 last week, but she hasn't given it back to me yet. So always remember, when you give something to someone, you lend it. And when you get or receive something from someone, you borrow it. Okay, so here's 2 more words that lots of my students confuse, and that's affect versus effect. So first of all, notice the pronunciation. The pronunciation is very similar, but there is a subtle difference if you hear it. Affect is pronounced affect, like it has an a sound at the beginning. However, effect is pronounced effect, almost like it has an e sound at the beginning. Okay, so what do these 2 words mean? Let's look at affect first. What does affect mean? So affect is a verb. It means to have influence or have an impact on something. For example, the dampness began to affect my health. The dampness began to affect my health. The divorce affected every aspect of his life. The divorce affected every aspect of his life. Now let's look at the word effect. Effect can of course be a noun or a verb. So what does effect mean as a noun? So effect is the result of being affected by something. For example, the lethal effects of hard drugs. The lethal effects of hard drugs. Now let's look at effect as a verb. Effect means to bring something about. For example, as a political party, they are trying to effect a change in the way we think about the environment. As a political party, they are trying to effect a change in the way that we think about the environment. So now the next one. So we have advise versus advice. Now there is a slight difference in pronunciation here. Can you hear the difference? When you see the S, pronounce it like the voiced Z sound, like in lies. So we say advise. Where you see the C, on the other hand, pronounce it like the unvoiced S sound, as in lice. So we say advice. So what do these two words mean? Advise is a verb. This is the action of recommending or suggesting something to someone. So in other words, to advise someone means to give them advice. So let's look at examples of this in a sentence. I advise you to stop drinking. I advise you to stop drinking. Her doctor advised her to drink more water. Her doctor advised her to drink more water. And now, advice. So, advice is a noun. So this is a recommendation or a suggestion. Your friend has a problem and you're trying to help by offering him a piece of advice. People might ask for advice about lots of things, such as learning English, children, school, a relationship, a job. For instance, can I ask your advice about something? Can I ask your advice about something? I always listen to my father's advice. I always listen to my father's advice. There are certain verbs that you can use with advice too. For example, you can give advice, you can receive advice, you can have advice, listen to advice, or follow advice too. So the next words we're going to look at are accept and accept. Accept and accept. Now there's a slight difference in pronunciation with these two words. Can you hear it? Listen to the vowel sound at the beginning of each word. Accept with a sound at the beginning, accept. And accept with an ick sound at the beginning, accept. Now what's the difference in meaning between these two words? So firstly, accept. Accept is a verb, but it can also be a conjunction or a preposition as well. It describes the action of agreeing to receive or do something. Of course, you can also say yes to an offer or an invitation too. You accept an invitation. For example, he accepted the pen as a present. He accepted the pen as a present. I offered her an apology, but she refused to accept it. I offered her an apology, but she refused to accept it. We accepted the invitation to the wedding next month. We accepted the invitation to the wedding next month. Now the word except. Except can be a conjunction or a preposition, and this simply means not including. Not including. For example, they work every day except Saturday, so not including Saturday. They work every day except Saturday. Everyone went to the party except for Peter. Everyone went to the party except for Peter. The next two confusing words that I have for you are altogether versus altogether. So two words versus one word. Altogether in two words means all in the same place at one time. For example, the last time we were all together was before the lockdown. The last time we were all together was before the lockdown. We went all together to the concert. We went all together to the concert. Now, altogether as one word is an adverb, and this means completely or in total. So let's look at this in a sentence. The training lasts 5 years altogether. The training lasts 5 years altogether. He stopped playing football altogether. He stopped playing football altogether. Altogether, you owe him £500. In other words, in total, you owe him £500. Altogether, you owe him £500. Now, two more words that are very confusing for a lot of students. They are principal and principal. Principal with an L-E and principal with P-A-L. These two words are pronounced the same. Do you know the difference in the meaning of these two words? So the first one, principal with an L-E, is a noun. It is the basic rule or idea that explains or controls how something happens or how it works. For example, a person of good moral principles. A person of good moral principles. We need to do something. It's a matter of principle. We need to do something. It's a matter of principle. Now, what does principle mean when it ends in P-A-L? Principle can be a noun or an adjective. So let's start with principal as a noun. This, of course, refers to a head of a school. So you could say, for example, I have a meeting with the school principal this afternoon. I have a meeting with the school principal this afternoon. Now, principal as an adjective. So this means something that is important or significant. For example, our principal concern is taking care of our clients. Our principal concern is taking care of our clients. Or we could say, our principal concern is taking care of our school principal. Our principal concern is taking care of our school principal. So the next two confusing words are allowed and allowed. Both of these words are pronounced in the same way. So the first one is allowed. Allowed is an adverb. So this is to speak at a high volume, to speak aloud, or to speak in a loud voice, loud enough to be heard. For example, read that article aloud so we can all hear you. Read that article aloud so we can all hear you. She read her letter aloud to the rest of the family. She read her letter aloud to the rest of the family. Now, the second word, allowed, is a verb. This is the past tense of the verb to allow, which means to let someone have or do something. For example, you're allowed to bring a picnic with you. You're allowed to bring a picnic with you. You are not allowed to speak aloud. You are not allowed to speak aloud. The next two confusing words we're going to look at are complement, a verb, versus complement, a noun or a verb. Both of these two words are pronounced the same. So complement, with an E, is a verb which means to go well with something else. In other words, it contributes extra features to something in such a way that it may improve it or emphasize it. For example, that jacket really complements the dress you are wearing. That jacket really complements the dress you are wearing. That white wine really complements the meal. That white wine really complements the meal. Now we have complement with an I. Now this can be a noun or a verb. Compliment means to say something nice to someone. If we compliment someone, we are using a polite expression showing that you admire something about them. You pay someone a compliment. So let's look at some examples. She paid me an enormous compliment. She paid me an enormous compliment. I don't often give compliments, but I really like that outfit you're wearing. I don't often give compliments, but I really like that outfit you're wearing. Well, that's it. So now you've learned some confusing English words. I recommend you watch the video a few times so you fully understand the differences. To accompany this video, I prepared a downloadable PDF with some notes. So if that interests you, just click on the link below and you can access it straight away. Anyway, I hope you liked the video and don't forget to press the like and subscribe button below. See you next time. Bye.